All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm Doug Binette. I'm the director of the New York Tech Alliance. And joining me tonight is Jamiel Shiekh, right over here. Jamiel, wave your hand. Jamiel is the founder and CEO of Scifin, as well as the founder of Blockchain NYC, New York City's largest blockchain meetup with over 40,000 members. Good job, Jamiel. Jamiel will be facilitating the demo presentation, and he'll also be welcoming Stuart Haber. Stuart, raise your hand, co-founder of the Blockchain Technique, who will share his history with blockchain and how it works, and some new developments in the blockchain world. All right, so before we get started, I have a few things to share. If I can do this right. All right, just know that we record the event for everybody not attending, and you can access the recording on our YouTube channel by going to youtube.com/NY Tech Alliance. In case you have yet to scan the Giotto code, we encourage you to do so. It's a great way to give feedback to us before, during, and after the event. So feel free to scan the code now or download the link and check out the agenda there in the future, as well as give commentary on the demoers and anything about the event itself. Let's see, for anyone joining us for the first time, the New York Tech Alliance is a nonprofit serving the tech community here in New York. And at the core of our mission is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we, a big part of our mission is to diversify the tech industry here and make it the most diverse in the world. So to learn more about us and our mission, go to nytech.org. Let's see, how many of you are attending for the first time? All right, nice, quite a few. All right, so for all of you joining us for the first time, the Tech Meetup is all about demoing the tech. And so it's not about the business model or the financial model. So during the Q&A session, keep your questions around the tech and the market opportunity it's addressing. Otherwise, you may get booed, okay? Thanks to our annual sponsors. Without them, events like this may not be possible. To learn more about them on our website, you can go to nytech.org/sponsors. I'd like to give a big shout out to Civic Hall and team for everything you guys do, and our parent organization, the FedCap Group. If you're not aware of either organization, I encourage you to visit both websites. One, to learn about what's going on here at Civic Hall and the opportunities to be part of the community. And two, to learn about the extraordinary work that FedCap does around workforce development and economic well-being that FedCap does locally and throughout the world. Let's see, and I want to give a big shout out to Jerry Seidman. Jerry, where are you? Jerry is right there. Jerry's been a longtime member and supporter of the Tech Alliance, and he's also the person who made so many introductions for tonight's event, all the demoers. So thank you, Jerry. We appreciate you. And lastly, yes. And lastly, we love and welcome support to help us produce and deliver our programming. 3 ways you can help include attend as many events online and in person as you can, become an individual or corporate member or annual sponsor, or simply make a small donation. You can do so by going to nytech.org, support_NYTA. Okay, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jamiel. Hey, Jamiel, welcome. Appreciate you. Go on. Watch out for this.
Okay. Well, hello, everyone. My name is Jamiel. I run Blockchain NYC. So we've got a really exciting lineup of companies that are presenting their demos. But before we get to the demos, we're going to bring up a speaker who is a true OG in the space. I don't know if you know who Stuart Haber is. I met Stuart, I think it was 2018, 2019. I think it was in New York City, and then we met at MIT again at the Bitcoin conference. But he's been a friend. He is one of the few people that is mentioned in the Satoshi Nakamoto white paper, right, in the footnotes, right, in the citations in the bottom. Stuart is mentioned there, right? So if people say they're an OG, they haven't met Stuart, right? So Stuart is the original OG. And I just learned today, just now, that he's got an interesting past. He used to be a juggler in Paris. It was, multi-dimensional things, right? So I'm not going to spend too much time. I do want to thank Civic Hall. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Doug, for bringing Blockchain NYC into this thing. We're looking forward to working together in the future. Stuart, you want to come on up? Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the introduction. And let's see. Wait a minute. Something I need here. There, much better. Okay, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good. So let's get started. And make sure the navigation works. Oh, number one. Sorry, wrong one. Good catch. But we can work on that. We've never worked on that before, this particular maneuver. Okay, great. So, all right. Can you hear me this way too? Good. So I'm going to tell a story about the beginning of blockchain stuff. I'll mention a partner, my partner in this crime. His name is Scott Stornetta, and we'll be telling the story. Both of us like to take the long view when we tell this story. So this, I'll mention here a woman named Teresa Imanishi-Kari. She was a researcher, a biologist, a young biologist at the time of this story. This was the, when was that? Her paper was 86, so yeah. She was accused unjustly of fraud in a technical paper that she wrote. The case came down to her lab notebook notes, which she'd written by hand, pen and ink, on paper. So put that thought in mind, and let me jump to the beginning of my part of the story. I was a researcher at Bellcore, Bell Communications Research, then the brand new Bell Labs of the local phone companies, which had been just broken up. Ma Bell had been broken up. Ma Bell had the legendary, still legendary, but then currently and justifiably legendary Bell Labs. And when Ma Bell was broken up into the local phone companies, they were encouraged to set up their own version of Bell Labs, which was called Bellcore, Bell Communications Research. The story begins in 1989. I had been there a year and a half or so, and another researcher, I was working as a cryptographer. Cryptography, the art and science and engineering of, now I'm going to steal a definition from the great Ron Rivest, a great cryptographer and Turing Award winner. The art, science, engineering of protecting information in the presence of adversaries. For example, keeping it secret from certain prying eyes, if it should be secret, but also making sure it doesn't change if it shouldn't change. And if it should change, changing only according to certain rules, if there are rules that should be followed for it. So it's the summer of '89. I'd been there a year or so, year and a half, and a second young researcher, a second guy, joined the lab, new guy, Scott Sternetta. He'd been trained as a physicist, but in fact, he was obsessed by this same. Why are different screens? This one's slower, or maybe not even working. The front screen's not working. Okay. Scott was obsessed by this case. He wondered, it was clear that all the world's information was going online. You know, we didn't, at that point, all carry around computers, such powerful computers. The one on our desks at Belcourt was rather less powerful than this is now. All the world's information was going online, but we were worried about how we could be sure of the integrity of records if they were all kept online. Those of us who used computers at the time, and in fact, even most non-technical people knew that you could open a computer file and change it. Change its date, change anything it said. We worried about the integrity of all the world's information. So, as Scott was not a cryptographer himself, but thought cryptography might be part of the solution. So we started to work on it. The way we phrased the problem was this: how to timestamp a digital document, because we were in the world of algorithms. If you think about it at all, the only way of ensuring records, strings of bits is all they are, is by having a system with some sort of registration procedure, an algorithm, centralized, decentralized, distributed, some kind of algorithm. The result of that procedure, that registration procedure, is another string of bits that somehow attests to the integrity of the record. And of course, you need a checking procedure. So it took us a while. We were not knocking our heads against the wall, but when we came up with a couple of solutions that seemed to be worth publishing, we published them at a conference called Crypto 1990. That was when cryptography, the word crypto was just a shortening of cryptography or cryptology. It had not yet, the word had not yet been stolen by the cryptocurrency maniacs. In fact, I'm pretty sure the word cryptocurrency was not pronounced by anybody for at least 10, 15 years, maybe not 15, a dozen years after that. No, when was Bitcoin? Bitcoin was 2008 or 9, so that's a fair stretch. So our solution, which I'm about to explain to you right now. So most people, if you're here at this event, you have some idea of how blockchain stuff works. But, okay, how many people, raise your hand, how many people here think you could stand up and, or sit down and explain to somebody how the essence of blockchain systems ensures the integrity of digital records? Don't be shy. Okay, that's pretty good. Only, how many people could give a glib explanation that would pass the required, not get laughed out of the room or off the stage? Oh, a few more. Okay, good. So I'm going to do it with short animation, and I'm going to do this in order to understand the basics here. I'm going to do this with one technical tool, the basis of how the whole thing works. But I'll explain this in terms of a metaphor, namely fingerprinting, digital fingerprinting. So to understand that, I've got this nice animated fingerprint. There's a process by which you can, as it were, take the fingerprint of a string of bits, take the fingerprint of a string of bits, a digital document, an email message, a video, the recording that's now being made of this event will be a large digital file that you can view online later. That's an example, but an email message saying, "Are you coming Monday evening? Did you buy the Eclipse classes yet?" These are all digital documents. So the fingerprint is an apt metaphor for this process. First, it's small. You can take the fingerprint of the one-sentence message saying, "Look for Eclipse classes at Union Square. They're still available now." That's a short message. The big video file that's being recorded here, that's a rather larger file. If you take the fingerprint of either of those two files, you get 20 bytes, say. Second, the fingerprint of a file is characteristic of the file. So if you take the fingerprint of a file several different times, you always get the same fingerprint. It's a mathematical function being calculated by software. Oh, and it's efficient. It's very quick. The big video file of this event, it takes as much, you can take its fingerprint in not much, only infinitesimally more time than it takes to just read the bits off storage. Finally, and crucially for this blockchain integrity use, if you take a single any file and change it by even a single bit, the fingerprint, the output, changes wildly and unpredictably. Therefore, you can use the, and of course, changing a bit in a file can change its meaning drastically. If I owe you if it's an email message promising you a bit of money, or if it's a message promising you a bit of money, or changing a bit is crucial. So with those properties in mind, let me show you how Scott and I assured the integrity of any digital record. We, in fact, provided a digital timestamping service, as we called it, but in fact, it was a deployment of the world's first blockchain. So we had customers who sent us requests, registration requests in the way I explained this, the overall principle before. So a registration request is just the fingerprint of a record. These requests would come in, and we would group them into units. At that time, we didn't use the word block, but let's say we grouped them into blocks. We would then take each block and take the fingerprint of the block. If you've heard technical people talking about this stuff, this is the Merkle tree. But for the purposes of this description, the Merkle tree is just a way of taking a group of fingerprints and taking a fingerprint of those fingerprints. So more requests would come in, we'd get another bunch of, a bunch of requests. We would do the same thing, take the fingerprint of that bunch, but include as the input to the fingerprinting process the previous block's fingerprint. Then a third block comes in, and so on. Pretty soon, we've got a whole bunch of blocks. Every so often, about once a week, we would take the fingerprint of the entire block. Now, we wanted this to be a system for ensuring the integrity of all the world's records. Back then, we didn't give talks about these things, but nowadays, we even glibly mention the Library of Alexandria. I mean, all of civilization depends on records and their integrity. We wanted some way of there being worldwide consensus on these hash values, on these fingerprints. How'd we do it? This was, remember, this was 1991 when the system I'm now describing first started running as experimental code at Belcore. What we did was we take this weekly fingerprint and we would put it in a small classified ad in the national edition of the Sunday New York Times, so that the fingerprint in a particular Sunday's New York Times was linked unforgeably and efficiently to any one of the requests that came into the software that week. But because of the chaining, to every single request that had come in since the very beginning. Now that chain, that blockchain, is in fact still running right now. Here's a picture of me standing at the crypto conference, the same conference where we'd first presented this idea in 1990. Here I am at the conference a couple years ago. Actually, that's 4 years ago now, my God. We're holding up the New York Times and with an ad there. Now, I happen to have right here, here's the New York Times, as delivered to my apartment not very far from here. I grew up in New York, so I learned to read the New York Times. This is what's called the subway fold. And right here, inside, is an ad, pass it around, which contains a fingerprint as written down as some numbers and letters, every bit of which depends on every bit of every single registration request that's been received by this software since October 13th, 1991. That's a long time. All right, the story now jumps a few years forward. This is the Bitcoin, those ads represent a digital integrity service by a company called Surety, which deployed and still deploys a blockchain. You haven't heard of it. It is not a wildly successful company, but still there. Some years later, somebody named Satoshi Nakamoto put together a purely electronic, peer-to-peer cash system, a magical system. How did Satoshi, putting this together in 2008, ensure the integrity of the transactions that make up their system, Bitcoin? Satoshi chose exactly the data structure, exactly the mechanism, the distributed mechanism that I've just explained. Jamiel mentioned the footnotes. This is the, I think, 9th page. It's a short paper, actually. Of course, I recommend you go to the sources. And at least the first few pages of any of my papers are also pretty readable. So this was first posted online 2008, first deployed 2009. It's been a few years since then. What's happened? What's happened since then? It's not. Why did so many people show up for this event? So I'll say a few words about other stuff besides just pure integrity of records. And I'll start out by saying something about NFTs. An NFT, if you think about it, is simply a time-stamped assertion of ownership of a digital object. Nothing more, and sometimes a bit less. And what you can do with that is depends a lot on the social context, whether you can sell it, what it matters, or how it might be used legally. That's a matter of law, policy, social mechanisms. That's not to derogate them entirely. I've actually sold a couple of NFTs myself with my partner in timestamping, Scott Sternetta. But that same observation about the importance of how the NFT, non-fungible token, I should actually spell out all my acronyms, how the NFT is embedded in social systems applies as well to DAOs, distributed autonomous organizations, which are have been touted as changing the world or capable of changing the world. I'm a little skeptical of that because, once again, how such an organization actually functions and does things depends entirely on the rest of the world, laws, policies, regulations. Finally, smart contracts, which is computer code running on the blockchain. That was the innovation brought to the blockchain world by Vitalik Buterin and his team with Ethereum. That's code, that's computer code. Computer code is hard to write, and there are many bugs in such things, and having the whole world run on computer code is hard to do. And if you are, as several people in this room are doing, launching some system using smart contracts, you should be very careful about them. I'll come back by saying this, pointing to this problem, pointing to this news. This was a news story that appeared the very week that ChatGPT was unveiled, about a year and a half ago. That was within a week or two of the collapse of FTX, coincidentally. I still think blockchain systems, invented as they were for ensuring the integrity of digital records, are at least part of the answer to this photoshopping problem for all of science. And I will finish there by saying that the world of work on the way this world has just exploded is amazing for Stornetta and me as beginners, and we and some people here are about to show you some brand new stuff, which I'm eager to sit down and watch.
Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate that. Some exciting and historic stuff there. Thank you. You got everything? Okay, great. Thank you. Your shades. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Stuart. Another round of applause for Stuart. Thank you. So, what he's passing around is history, right? This is going to be history. The fact that you can touch some of this stuff and meet the man that is behind some of this is amazing, right? So I'm glad he's here, and when you have a time, please do get a chance to network with him. So for the rest of this demo session, the format's going to be pretty simple. I'm going to bring up the speaker, or they're going to present their demo. They got 4 minutes. I'm going to be the bad cop and make sure they go to 4 minutes. And then we have another few minutes after that for Q&A. We have people floating around with mics to ask the presenter some questions, and that'll go for another 4 minutes, and then we'll switch to the next demo. We'll do 3 demos, and then we'll take a short break. Doug will get us on a break. He'll come up and open up the break, and then we'll continue with a bunch of more demos, and then we've got a couple more things after that Doug is going to do around, doing some requests, and people want to do some kinds of requests, right? So the first demoer is going to be Josh. Josh, you want to come on up? Who is with Lendvest. So Josh, welcome, Josh. Josh was an integral part of the development of one of the first tokenized stocks, a project recognized by MIT Technology Review, which laid the groundwork for compliant tokenization settings, right? So Josh, you're going to be talking about Lendvest, which is a Chainlink member of a Chainlink build program, and you provide verifiable math. I'll pretend I know what that is. Tell us what is verifiable math. I thought all math was verifiable, but to financial markets, let's get into that. Thank you.
Yeah. Still. I'm all set. Yeah, thanks. So that was the perfect leeway. Thank you, Stuart. And Jamiel asked a perfect question. What is verifiable math? Isn't all math verifiable? Well, the thing is if the numbers entered into the math equation were forged or fraudulent, then it's not really verifiable, and that's what happened to FTX and Enron. So without further ado, let's get into the next steps here. So hey guys, I'm Josh. I'm the founder of Lendvest, and we provide verifiable math using on-chain data. So just like Stuart was saying, that thanks to Stuart, we have real verifiable data now, and we can use that to power really powerful financial applications. And so I'm gonna demo here and see how this works. Okay. Okay, so it takes a minute to run. And I'm gonna cheat too. I'm gonna take 6 minutes instead of 4 minutes and take away 2 minutes of Q&A. Okay, so while that's running, I'm gonna present what's actually happening, because blockchain's a back-end technology, and I'm gonna be explaining what it's actually doing here. So you guys all know that Bitcoin is referred to as digital gold because its supply, like the limited supply of gold in the earth, is limited thanks to Stuart's integrity mechanism. Thank you. So taking that a step further is Ethereum's code is law. And whatever executes on Ethereum has happened, it's true. So you all used a version of Robinhood or E-Trade, and there are financial applications on the blockchain. And whatever happens or transacted, even if you make a mistake, you don't call your bank and say, whoops, I made a mistake, can you fix that? It's the truth, it happened. And so there are two main markets that Lendvest deals with if you're looking on the buy side as a lender. And so there are two different rates. And the thing is that these markets don't talk to each other, actually. You think that blockchain is open and connected and democratized, but these platforms actually hide their data and keep it internal to themselves. So let's see my clicker here. So Lendvest is able to take both of these markets for the first time, take their rate and divide by 2. It's as simple as that. But thanks to innovations from Chainlink and space and time, for the first time, we're able to do this. And so by doing that, we can ensure that we provide a better rate for lenders. And there's a $4.2 billion market inefficiency where they're only earning 0.7%, so we could get them more yield. And then we actually offer the lowest rate to borrowers from that rate. So with that, we're able to capture significant demand from both of these markets and actually tighten the spreads. So what the heck does that mean? So the thing is that maybe 10 years ago, you had to call a broker and place a trade. And now you're able to directly enter in a transaction. It lowers the cost because of advancements in computing. And now, because of advancements in blockchain, we're able to tighten the spreads. So that's the result you're able to see. So it's ultimately a lower cost for the user. So a lot of complicated things happen on the back end, but what is actually happening is that we use space and time to verifiably read blockchain data and calculate this average. Then we use Chainlink to write onto the chain to power the next generation of automated smart contracts. So now heading back to the demo is that using Chainlink in space and time, we were able to calculate the rate. Now it's in 18 decimals because that's the format for Ethereum. And I'm not sure if you saw that, but okay, so you could learn more on our website. So I'm stealing the extra minutes for Q&A here to announce that since Lendvest came out of New York, I'm grateful for the opportunity to announce NYC Node. This is New York's first investment in blockchain infrastructure. So students of CUNY across the public schools of NYC built the node themselves. And I was at State Street Bank, and I've worked with many financial institutions, and the financial institutions aren't able to run their own node due to compliance. So we're building compliance from the ground up to create this node. This is what the UI looks like. Shout out to Baldwin Cepeda for building the node, and Daniel Karelski for building the UI, students across CUNY. And so you guys can scan this right now and interact with the live demo. And so what are we actually showing here? So you can't read the first 7 blocks, because if you're reading the first 7 transactions, then you're actually acting as a money transmitter, which is a huge cost. It's like $500,000 that you have to put up front, and millions of dollars in compliance-related costs. And that's just to read blockchain information. So now we're enabling regulated financial institutions and businesses to operate in blockchain and read market data. And usually there's a consultancy or a law firm that creates the regulation and profits off of communicating how to comply with that. And now students from CUNY and New York City are able to benefit from this. And when these financial institutions use
I
it,
think we got to wrap it up.
yep,
Yeah.
those students are able to capture the profit.
All right, thank you. Okay, thank you, Josh. I know the clock is intimidating. I'm not speaking, and it's intimidating me. It's like big numbers and like it's Hunger Games or something. But yeah, a great presentation. Any questions for Josh? Any questions for Josh? I mean, we could take 1 or 2 questions.
I was just wondering, when you say NYC node, do you mean a Bitcoin full node? Is that what you mean, or something else?
So we're starting with an Ethereum full archival node, and it's not a staking node. And then from there, we're able to expand to other EVM chains and non-EVM chains from there. But Ethereum has one of the best developer communities, which makes it easier for us to engineer the first node. I hear you.
This is a simple question.
I'll repeat it. Oh, yes.
I assume you get your data from Chainlink?
So we actually get it directly on-chain from Ethereum using the node. I was explaining that Lendvest uses Chainlink to use space and time to get data off the chain, and then Chainlink to write onto the chain or bring that data back onto the chain after a calculation.
How can you make sure that the data entered into Ethereum is correct? If the data was at the source, not correct.
So the thing is that if I sent you 10 Ethereum right now, whoops, that was a mistake. Maybe you'd give me back the $30,000 or so, but on Ethereum, that's a valid transaction, and there's no takes back. So that's the kind of data we're using, super true or verifiable data. There's no reverse.
Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate that. Yeah. Okay. All right. So some more verifiable math. Jim, come on up. Jim is the founder and CEO of nCent. nCent does what we all want to do. We want to kind of control our data. Tell us more about your solution. Give us a demo. The mic is here.
Absolutely.
You want the mic?
Jamiel.
You might want the mic.
I've got it right
Oh,
here.
Okay, perfect.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. All yours.
Awesome. Okay, so I need my hands free, so they gave me this. Thank you so much for this introduction. By the way, I want to thank New York Tech Alliance and Civic Hall for this amazing venue and opportunity for companies like mine to share the awesome things that we're doing that we think are really important. And for me, this is a passion project because I think that we have a problem that we can solve, and we're at the crux of time to do that. That is, you know, companies take your data. You guys, how many people are aware companies take your data? Yeah. You know they make money from it too, right? Where's yours? Exactly. For decades, this has been happening, and now we have change that's happening to change this. The European Union, about 8 years ago, enacted something called GDPR, privacy. So those privacy rules that were put in place washed around the globe in a wave of change, and now 80% of the countries in this planet have some form of privacy legislation or law. Now it's happening again. Now you have the Data Act, which was ratified at the end of November of last year. And that Data Act now is all about data ownership, enabling you to take control of and monetize your data. We think that's really important because the next wave of data is beyond your identity. It's beyond the information that you think about today that's being passed around. It's about your wearables, it's about your car, it's about all these kind of things. It's important that that remains private, but it's also important it remains in your control. You're the owner. You've always been the owner regardless of what they've told you. And that data has absolute value. So the way we solve this is we create a marketplace. The ability for you to actually sell your data, remain private, and in the process change the world of advertising and marketing. Because if you think about why people want your data, why companies want your data, they want you as a customer. They want to sell you what they're making. That's why they're making it. So the opportunity is to actually shift all of this in one shot. So by creating a marketplace where you have two sides, you got the sellers, which are everybody here, and the buyers, which are any company that wants a customer. You've got an interesting situation where you can actually give a global change in the world. So let's talk about this because we have a patent pending technology called PATH. It's 3 simple steps. We call it reach, refine, and recruit. I'll show you that now. The first step is being able to reach your demographic, your audience. Anybody know what the sales funnel here is for marketing or customer acquisition? That's what this is, except it's done a little bit differently. Keeping everybody private. We will never, at nCent, we will never reveal a customer's identity, a seller's identity. It's always private. Privacy is a paramount piece for us. But we will enable a lot of buyers to be able to actually understand the data and make offers and ask questions. So they can not only get the data, but we can refine it by asking specific questions to help clarify data that maybe a sensor, a wearable, financial transaction won't clarify, as well as be able to make offers, coupons, redemption codes. And with those redemption codes, basically the people have the choice whether when we redeem them. If they want to redeem them, then they get the value of that. By the way, every time you answer a question, every time you choose to redeem, every time your data moves through our platform, you get paid. We share the revenue from the sale of the data, 80-20 with the people. They get 80. The mechanism here is all about building trust. And that's why blockchain is important, because we're talking about a lot of money. We're talking about all those marketing budgets that you have as a company to go out and find your customers. We're talking about all that research information because now we've got a person involved that actually owns the data. It's no longer these silos of data we're talking about. It's this huge contextual context. When you know you can be private, when you know that your identity is protected, and you can be monetized for it. We think this is changing everything, and we're using blockchain as an integrity. In fact, we're using the digital timestamp exactly as described. We hash the contract at the end of a deal, and then we take that little hash. How big did you say it was? 128 characters? It's small. We take that hash, we put it into the blockchain. There, we seal it in time, and now you know it's an authentic document anytime you look at it. And that's important because there's lots of people in the deal. We'll talk about that. If you guys want to talk later, we've got a table in the back, as well as any questions we can have. We'll start them right now. But we're raising $4 million, and I've done this a couple of times before. This is a really exciting, and as I said, it's a passion project for me. So scan the code. That's actually my contact on Blink. Check out the website, pre-register on the website as well. But thank you so much, and I think we'll take
Yeah,
questions.
thank you. We'll get some questions. I feel like I just attended a TED Talk. I'm kind of inspired. Thank you. That was brilliant.
That's the plan.
Yeah, so I feel good. I'm going to fight the power now. Any questions? Yes, there's a question up front here.
Get the microphone.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you.
Sorry, I think that young lady had her hand up first. Just do this the right way.
Yeah, hi. I want to know how do I control the data you get access to? What if I don't want to give you something? Can I opt in, opt out? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Certainly. She's not a plant, really. So this is a demonstration, and we can give these demonstrations to you at the table, but the idea is that you've got the ability through the app to actually choose what data is you want to sell. And by the way, when we talk about the pricing of the data, that data is priced based on the stock market, right? You run the market based on supply and demand, just like you would with stocks. And when we take this data and monetize it, so you can opt in anytime you want. You can opt out anytime you want. And we package all that data from like 100, 500, 1,000 people, whatever that buyer's looking for, into these use cases. So with these use cases, for example, New York City, we're in New York City. I want to see how people are using the resources of the city. So I want you to share, I don't know what that is on the screen, but I want you to share over a 60-day period, I want you to go out and do 15 activities. And for that, you're going to get paid. But we also are going to incentivize you to grow everything else. But you have complete control, and that's the heart of this entire thing, is it's about the power of control, the power to share if you want to share, or if you don't, and the ability for you to actually remain private the entire time. A follow-up?
Just like any app, it's in, it's on, off, you don't get it.
Exactly. Including the questions and including the offers. If you don't want to be asked questions so that you get paid for those questions, but you don't have to answer. It's up to you because you're in control. You're like, yeah, I'll take questions now, or I don't want questions. And the way those manifest are also not designed to be a pain. I can ask a question, I can see it, I can say, oh, yeah, there's I think some tire tracks or something on here. This is not my app, this actually has this. I don't know what that is. So you've answered some questions, you get paid a little bit, and that data now is part of your profile. So you can sell it over and over and over. When people say how much your data is worth, the general census there is they're thinking about your identity or your demographics. They're only used kind of a couple times. This data is seasonal. It happens all over and over. When you're walking, when you're driving, when you're shopping, because this is not the data from behind a screen. This is the data of your real life, the real intent that the buyers are looking for. Any other questions? You had one. I've got to.
I'll try to make this
last
quick.
question.
Early on, you mentioned that, like how many people here know if your data is being sold. I think the bigger question is how many people here know how often data gets leaked, and that's tied to them. So how do you care about like anonymizing and early on disassociating the information from the user?
So there's a couple of answers in that question. Can I dig into that real quick? Absolutely. All right. The first thing you ask is how do you know? It's not about how your data is being sold. It's about what happens if your data gets leaked. Okay. The reason that Europe did the privacy thing in the first place back 8 years ago, GDPR, is they recognized that companies were not being responsible with the data they were taking, right? I'll go back to this picture because I really like this picture because it tells me about kind of how we got to where we are today. I'm going to go back to this with the pirates. So the people that did this were not responsible with what they took. So GDPR says, it's not yours, so if you lose it, you got 72 hours to tell them. And if they ask for it back, you got to give it back to them. And in California, when they passed the California Consumer Privacy Act, they also said, you can tell them not to sell it anymore. So the privacy laws have moved in favor of the consumer, and I think the data ownership rights are going to do the same thing. By the way, within the last 24 hours, the US Congress now has also made acts towards moving again, trying to get it's called the APRA, the American Privacy Rights Act. It's got kickstarted again. So this is the direction everything's going. Questions?
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Appreciate that. Okay, next up, so we're going to do 2 more presentations before we do a break. Next up is folks finance. You guys are on Algorand, right?
Multi-chain.
Oh, you're multi-chain. Okay, great. So you're one of the biggest DeFi apps on Algorand. Is that the case?
The biggest.
Okay, they're the biggest DeFi app on Algorand. Ibu is here to present what they're doing. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. This is on? Yeah, okay, great. Thank you, New York Tech Alliance, for hosting us here. Great, we can see this. As I speak, this video will loop, and the context of it will be explained. Thankfully, I was able to come here after a couple of great speakers, Stuart, Jim, and Josh, who kind of laid the groundwork for some of the things I'm going to explain. But what you're going to see here is actually solving one of the biggest problems in the blockchain industry overall. And it may seem boring, but I'm going to explain to you why it's a big deal. So first we had Bitcoin, when we're talking about the financialization of blockchains. And the purpose of Bitcoin was to transfer Bitcoin and record its transactions. Very simple. From that, as Stuart alluded to, we had Ethereum, which used that groundwork to essentially create an application layer where you could build applications such as the one you see here. As Bitcoin was the first killer use case of blockchain, it was followed up by more financial use cases, and that spawned the DeFi sector, decentralized finance, which uses smart contracts to ensure that parts of the traditional financial system that we interact with today are eliminated and made more efficient. You don't need a banker to approve your loan when you're using DeFi. You don't need a brokerage to approve your trades when you're using DeFi. So that's essentially the core of it, right? So once Ethereum showed popularity and really gained some traction, what happened was a lot of other people came into the markets and said, I want to create my own Ethereum, my own better version, maybe a little faster, cheaper, or something else. You know, they make a couple trade-offs and they customize it the way they want to make it. So over the past 4 or 5 years, we've seen hundreds of these come into the market, new networks. Now the problem is, when you have a new network, you also need to create its own DeFi ecosystem. And the 3 cores of that are lending protocol, essentially a bank, trading protocol, a brokerage, and a staking protocol. Think of it like a treasury bill, right? Simple yield. Those 3 things create the essence of a DeFi ecosystem. But when you have 100 different networks and they're all different from each other and separated, the problem becomes you don't have enough resources or money to give them all what they need. Therefore, the ecosystems on those networks die. And when you're using them, you kind of experience a bad time. With low liquidity and low amount of money in the system, you can't trade, you can't borrow, you end up losing money a lot of the time. So what you're seeing on the screen is the solution to this problem of fragmentation. That's what it's called. When there's a million different networks and everyone's saying, oh, this one's the best and that one's the best. Well, it doesn't really matter. Because if you use this, so what you're seeing right now on the screen is the simple creation of a wallet. On Folks, what we're building, we already have the biggest app on Algorand. We have those 3 core pillars. We built them all and we kind of took over the chain. Now, we're expanding to multiple networks, and what you'll be able to do is go into any network that's connected to the app using whatever wallet you want, and the wallet is how you hold your crypto. And you can interact with that blockchain or another one. So here, we're creating a wallet on the base chain. Then we're going to deposit a couple US dollar coin. In the other part of this demo, you see us create a wallet on the BNB chain. Now those things are completely separate and have no connections. But what we're doing in the background is connecting them essentially with like a spider web. That's how I visualize it in my head. And you can go from this chain to that chain and use Folks as like a hub, a home base essentially, for a complete financial experience in a blockchain setting. What you're seeing is not exactly flashy or exciting, but that is actually where the innovation is in crypto today, because as we spread further and further apart, we need more tools that bring everything back together. If I use Verizon and my friend uses Sprint, I don't need to think about what carrier he's using. And that's what we have to get to in the blockchain network as well. So my question for you all is, in this industry, I think most Americans know of crypto. They heard of Bitcoin, of ETH, of something. A fraction of those actually hold it. And of the people who actually hold or own it, a fraction of them self-custody and keep it in their own wallet and even want to use a tool like this. So my question is, what keeps everyone in this audience, or the majority, from interacting with a decentralized finance platform like folks? Yeah. I mean, you can clap after, don't worry. Yeah, I think he's passing you the mic right there. Fear?
Money, yeah.
Fear of losing your money. Valid point, definitely, because there have been many hacks in DeFi. And I think that alludes to what Stuart was going for, which is that smart contracts are such a new piece of tech that really, no matter how hard we try, there will always be flaws until we kind of get to a level of parity where the curve kind of just balances out. So I understand that. However, follow-up question, and you can answer, sir, or anyone else can answer, does the prospect of managing your own finances without oversight from a banking party or a brokerage party appeal to you, or do you still prefer the walled garden approach? Sir, yeah.
Yes and no.
Can I give you this?
Yeah. I think that ironically, like, immutability of blockchain is an issue, because if you made a mistake, there's no way to revert it unless other party willing to. And sometimes there is no other party, because the service, like for example Coinbase, that they're offering the service for recovering assets, and that service doesn't really work for all the cases. And in this case, you would say, okay, I actually would want to have somebody who will mediate a transaction, who is more knowledgeable, like in technological sense.
Good point. What he said is essentially, when you use DeFi, there's so much more risk of messing up. And when you mess up with your money, it's bad.
Yeah, Q&A.
I have a question.
We'll take some questions now. Yep.
How you doing? Is your program KYC, and is it interchangeable with every type of wallet? So if it is, you know your consumer, and if you use it to exchange, is it within your wallet to another wallet that you own, and can it use variable wallets? So there's multiple wallet companies out there. Is it interchangeable to what wallet you can use at that time?
So to answer the wallet question first, yes. What we're going to build is essentially you can come in from whatever wallet you want: MetaMask, Coinbase Wallet, Rainbow, Rabbit. There's a whole plethora of them. And we're going to get to a point where you can come in with your favorite wallet, and all the wallets that interact with it are yours. To answer the second question about KYC, which is know your customer, that's a common practice with exchanges, banks, etc. No, we don't have that, but we will integrate it in a certain way. You can come into folks with as little as $1, and all you need is an internet connection and a wallet app on your computer or phone, and you can get started lending, borrowing, trading, etc. Possibly down the line, we add a KYC products, which would require some identification to access something more, but I don't know what that would be at this point.
So, sorry, two parts. So if it's not KYC, in your app, are you able to make exchanges as far as purchasing through your app?
Purchasing crypto?
Yes.
Yes, in a way, but you also need some assets on chain. Though we do have on and off ramp, so you can come directly in with a credit card or debit card and get started right away. That will require KYC though. So if you want to use the credit card directly in the app, then you must give us your identity. But if you send crypto to yourself and begin using it, you don't.
Understood.
Any more questions?
We're out of time.
Thank you all so much, and check out Folks Finance.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, this is our fourth presentation before we take a break. Who's coming up here? Is it two people, one people? Who is it? Both of you guys? Okay, welcome. BlockBar, you guys are doing some stuff with wines and spirits. That's going to get everybody's attention for sure. All yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Essence. I do marketing and PR at BlockBar.
Hey, I'm Arsh.
And he's our CTO. So BlockBar is a trusted global marketplace offering the highest quality wines and spirits directly from producers to consumers authenticated on the blockchain. So you can buy, store, give, sell, and redeem all on the marketplace 24/7. We ship worldwide, including 250 duty-free locations. We offer storage and insurance on all of our bottles located in our warehouses in Singapore. And one of the main issues we solve is counterfeit wine and spirits. So from the moment that the liquid is bottled at the distillery until it reaches the owner's hands, it's basically all transparent on the blockchain. And I'll hand it over to Arsh to dive deeper and show you guys how it works.
Oh, thank you, Essence. Just having some technical difficulties here connected to the Wi-Fi. But in the meantime, as you can see here, the page is loading. This is our platform. We're going to do a live demo, and I'll try to walk through it and basically show you what the experience is of buying premium wine and spirits on our platform, which includes this game, by the way. 1 second.
Any questions? Actually, just while we wait, just a question for you guys. You could do it by raise of hands, but has anybody ever thought about or been interested in investing in wine and spirits as an alternative asset class? That's good data capture, thank you.
Did you bring any samples?
Well, we'll show you guys how to buy a bottle right now. You can all do it. And we just recently launched an app as well, blockbar.com. BlockBar. Of counterfeit wine and spirits. It's a $92 billion industry. So you can buy a bottle at Sotheby's or Christie's, and if the bottle turns out to be faked, forged, whatever it is, there's no recourse for that, and they pretty much can't do anything for you. So the idea is that we call them asset-backed NFTs. So they're NFTs backed by the physical bottle of alcohol, and the actual bottle never trades hands until it's redeemed. Once an owner redeems their bottle, they basically burn their NFT, so they'll send it to a bunch of zeros on the blockchain, the NFT will disappear, we'll send you a digital receipt saying you owned that NFT, and we'll ship you the bottle pretty much anywhere in the world or to any duty-free location. So that's how we solve that problem of the actual bottle never moving hands. Yeah, go ahead.
So this is a very obvious use case, has been for a long time.
Right.
The challenge here is the input, right? The original bottle. So who is attesting to the veracity of that bottle that you're then representing on chain, and how are you tying that bottle to the chain? Because tying physical assets to the blockchain can be really tricky.
Right, so we only work directly with producers. No third parties, no auction houses like Sotheby's or Christie's, no collectors. So it will be like Royal Salute, and it's directly from the Royal Salute distillery, Johnny Walker and their distillery. And it comes directly from the distillery to our warehouse in Singapore, and it never moves hands besides the distillery to the warehouse. And the second the NFT is redeemed, you can't it disappears, and the bottle, once it's in somebody's hand, we don't take responsibility for it anymore. Hope we got it working. Nice. And we'll show you guys now. Arsh will actually buy a bottle live and show you guys how the marketplace works.
Okay. Well, I guess our 4-minute start now. Awesome, so let's do this live. So as Essence was saying, and I heard a question from the back, it's very important to prove on-chain that you have ownership without moving the physical product, so we're gonna do that right now. Our marketplace presents multiple offerings. One of them is our Royal Salute 27-year-old, and we're gonna go buy one right now. So we offer different, we call it release mechanics and how you can purchase it. This one is being sold as a first come, first serve. That means there's a set allocation. If you add one to your cart, it's yours as long as you pay for it. We try to focus towards being a very Web2 friendly platform. That means you can pay with a credit card, you can pay with wire transfer, and we ensure that the product is transferred on chain to a custodial wallet managed by Fireblocks. So that ensures that the NFT will end up with you, and you won't have to worry about like owning ETH, on-ramp, off-ramp. You can just buy it right here. So while this is happening, we can go over to Etherscan, see what the purchase looks like. We can head over to our BlockBar.eth wallet, and in here you'll see in a minute that there's going to be a transaction that will show up indicating that the NFT has been transferred. There you go. So this right here shows an NFT transfer transaction. Since we did a purchase on-chain through the BlockBar ecosystem, the NFT is being transferred from the producer to my custodial wallet, as you can see here. And if I go here, you'll see there's a few other NFTs that I bought in the past. And I guess it takes a bit of a minute for it to show up. There you go. Yep, so this is the NFT that I just purchased. And if we go back over to BlockBar, the one that didn't load before, we can see that my purchase is almost complete. And yeah, basically you can manage all of your liquor collection. It may be $10,000 or $100,000 without having to move. So that's like super amazing for a lot of people, I guess. Yeah. Any questions?
Any questions?
We made it work. Oh, there's my Royal Salute that I just purchased.
So it kind of works similar, like I don't know if anybody's an art collector, but when you're an art collector, you can pull up your phone and kind of show people like, this is my art collection, you can bring it, like, you know, it's with you at all times. So this is kind of the same idea for like high-end wine and spirits. If you want to show off your collection, it's just another way to do it where you pull it up here. And as you showed, you can manage everything just from BlockBar's marketplace. You can gift it, like as people do it as wedding presents, as birthday presents, and bottles range in price from $500 to $100,000, depending on the spirit. And yeah.
And it's that easy to manage your collection. We're constantly expanding our marketplace. We have a lot of offerings right now, and it's always growing. We recently did an auction for Middleton Very Rare, and it was like super successful. We sold for double the asking price of the product, which was at $120,000. So that was pretty insane. Oh yeah, sorry about the internet issues, but we can take some questions after any.
So usually when you tokenize an illiquid asset or something that's really valuable where there's risk, how have you seen that your product has introduced new buyers? Like you said, so where do you see buyers coming from? Like, is it global now, or like what aspects, you know, makes it so that more buyers are coming to buy this alcohol that's listed on your marketplace?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's actually one of the problems that we solve. So the producers that we work with, they are forced to sell their products to a middleman, and then it goes to a retailer that sells to the end consumer. So they never get to see what does the end demographic look like. If I'm a producer, let's say Hennessy, I want to know who my consumers are. They don't get that through their regular retail channels. They need us in the middle, and it helps them identify what are their target markets, what kind of products are they interested in. And yes, we've seen global impact. We have customers in Singapore, Australia, the whole APAC region. We have a lot of consumers coming from Europe, and of course the US and LATAM as well. So it's pretty much global at this point.
Awesome, thank you.
Yes.
I can ask you. Do you guys have any plans to either expand the offerings in terms of the bottles you have, or even go beyond liquor into like wine or stuff like that?
I should probably open up our marketplace page. So we do offer a wide variety here. We initially started off with Glenfiddich was our first drop, so it would be the Armagnac cask. Then we expanded to some wine, and we also do we do casks as well. So we've sold a whole cask or a fractionalized cask. So it's like pre-spread out. Sir, you had a question.
So are you acting in effect as a bonded warehouse? And next question would be, how do you handle taxes? So who actually owns the stuff, and what is the regulatory status of it?
Yes, so we store our product in a free port, so that means it's in bond, and at the same time, the product, so another way to look at this is the product, like the producer in terms, the brand selling the product, doesn't have to produce the product today. They could be selling a future of the product. That means whenever it's ready, they could route it through our warehouse, or sometimes they prefer where they ship it directly to the consumer themselves. So we're just helping them sell certificates of the product that may or may not exist at the moment. Any other questions?
Is there a cost savings to the consumer since you're cutting out the middleman?
Well, gas fees are pretty high. No, I'm just kidding. Yes, of course, there are cost savings. Not all of the products that we offer are exclusive to BlockBar. That means you can't buy them anywhere else. For example, the Hennessy Paradise Gold Edition is like a limited allocation, only available on BlockBar. You would really have to go somewhere to buy it. So that's the biggest cost saving that we can offer. We offer unlimited free storage, and we do shipping like almost everywhere where you can receive a product.
What is the average price of your product?
That's a really tough question. We have products that are like, I think I bought the cheapest one right now because it was just a demo. Our products range anywhere from $1,000 to like $300,000. So it's hard to give an average.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you so much. A quick
Thank
question
you.
for you guys. Do you have an offer or an ask from the audience?
Yes.
Anything that you need?
Oh, you already did?
What did you ask?
Just if anyone thought about investing in one experience as an alternative asset class.
Oh, okay, got it. All right. But you're not looking for a co-founder or anything like that kind of stuff? Okay. All right, all right, good. All right, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to take a 2-minute break, and what we're going to ask is that you stand up and just turn to someone you don't know next to you and introduce yourself in the spirit of building community and connection here, all right? Yep. Good deal.
I'm very
wear many hats.
Heidi.
Okay, everybody, please take your seats. We're going to conclude with the last three demos. And what? Everybody take your seat, please. If I could ask you to take your seat. All right. Hey, everyone, if you could continue your networking after the last three demos, that would be appreciated. Jamiel.
They hear it, but it's like background noise. I can see as you walk through what's happening.
Is this working? This is fine. That's good. You probably want to scroll. All right, I'll use it. This one. That was the right side. The right side. Yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to get started. Free Bitcoins if we all sit within 10 seconds. Everybody gets free Bitcoins. 9, 8. Free ETH. Free Bitcoins. It's going to be hard. We want everybody in their seats. Yeah. No, let me get everybody in their seats. Let me get everybody in their seats. All right, folks, we're going to get started. The next presentation is ready. There'll be time for networking in a few minutes. Okay. Next presenter is William with K3 Labs, who's going to talk about what he's doing now. So I'm going to hand it over to you. All yours.
All right, thank you. There's nothing more rewarding than being the guy that has to go after the break and that you're all like wandering around. This is going to be impossible, but I appreciate giving me a few minutes if you've got it. Before the clock gets up, I'm sure it's going to start coming up anytime, so I better get moving here. But K3 Labs is basically a solution to, it's a B2B play, first and foremost. It's for companies. It's not for retail, which is some of the other things that we've seen today. But it's specifically out to solve the problem that we know this industry has, for those of you who actually are part of this industry, which is that Web3, which is what we call the crypto revolution, so to speak, is absolutely impossible to use for most companies. It's as simple as that. We want to say it's nice, and we want to say all these pretty words. The reality is it's incredibly difficult to use. And there's no reason why anyone would really want to use it based on how easy the Web 2 world is to use. There's 1,000 tools, everything's fantastic, everything's easy. Why on earth would you do and work in Web 3? It's as simple as that. So if we do not solve that problem, anything else we're doing is pointless. You have to build a system to make sure that people can actually use this stuff if you want people to actually use this stuff. It's really not that hard. So what K3 has done is we've built an abstraction layer on top of all of these primitives, not all of them yet, but on many of them so far, so that companies can start using Web3 today natively and not have to know anything about it. They don't have to know how crypto works, they don't have to know how nodes works, they don't have to know how gas fees work, they don't have to understand anything that's happening behind the scenes. They can simply deploy their software, use the technology, interact natively with Web3 users if they want, and not have to do anything that would potentially put them in issues with any regulatory authorities or jurisdictional authorities, because they don't have to hold crypto, they don't have to worry about how payments are transacted. They don't even have to do KYC necessarily, because they can do it everything through me with a real SLA in a real SaaS environment, working with a real Delaware company and not have to put themselves in an awkward situation. And the way that we do this, again, this is a tech kind of space, so I think there's a certain percentage of people here that would be interested in understanding how the tech works. We can get more into the questions, or you can come to the back afterwards and I can show you the actual demo. But effectively, the way this works is that it starts with deploy. You have to be able to write in Web 2 type code, Rust, JavaScript, TypeScript, anything you're used to working with now. Step one is to be able to deploy that code and have it run on decentralized hardware. That's already solved for. We recompile everyone's work, we put it out in the WASM world, and we run it off thousands of boxes in the EigenLayer ecosystem, so that the compute is being handled by the network, right? It's not being handled by me, it's not being handled by you. And as doing so, it comes in about 80% cheaper than it would be to run the same compute cycles on AWS or GCP. So right out of the box, you have the ability to use this decentralized network that we've been talking about and run your applications. Again, these are without knowing anything about Web3, run those applications in decentralized hardware and save radically against what it would cost to run it in GCP or AWS. Once you have that in place, then we have a design module where you can then design your own workflows and have those run and monitored by those same node operators rather than having run in-house, right? So let's say you want to write data to the blockchain every night. It's a financial reporting requirement, or it's a carbon reporting requirement, or it's just because you want to be part of this world and you want to start publishing your data to either a private or to a public blockchain. You don't want to know how it works. You go into the K3 app, you schedule it, you connect your API, you say, here's where the data is, please go and grab this, I need this done every 10 minutes, I need this done every hour. The node operators in the EigenLayer ecosystem pick up that data, they run the journey for you, they handle all the crypto, they handle all the writing to the blockchain, they verify the data, they require a 75% consensus mechanism before they immutably write the information. And effectively, you're able to work with whatever workflow you're designing in our app without, again, having to understand what's actually going on behind the scenes. Really hard to tell that story in 4 minutes. Thank you so much for trying. Maybe we can get into a little bit more of the detail if someone were to ask a question about what the heck I just said, but we can go from there. There's a question over here.
What's an example or two of a customer use case? Why would I want to run my workloads in a Web3 environment as opposed to a Web2 environment, besides the cost savings?
Yeah, so there are the cost savings. There's a couple of very visible things that people are talking about today, and I agree it's early days, and people are still trying to figure out how they want to do this. Financial reporting is a really good example. There's net asset value, if you know anything about how financial reporting works, everyone has to report that at the end of the night. Everyone has to listen to everyone else's net asset value. Everyone else has downstream impacts of trying to do those calculations, and then they have to do funds of funds calculations, and then they put their numbers on, and then everyone has different copies of it. And this all is working on technology that was built in about 1985. And this is a perfect, what blockchains were, I guess they weren't invented for that because Stuart already told us why he invented it. But nonetheless, this is a perfect example of why you would want to use a blockchain, is so you have a single source of truth as to Franklin Templeton's value of their fund X was X at the end of the night, and then everyone else can build all of their processes on top of that. And what we're finding is I try to bring this type to market. I was a Chainlink for many years. I try to bring this to market there. And what I found was everyone said, I want to do that, but it has to be outrageously, ridiculously easy to do. And that's why we built K3 Labs. Those same people are now coming to me, and they're building these processes with our tech stack rather than trying to build it from scratch. Yes, please.
Explain what eigenlayer is and why it's relevant to the whole system.
That's a very long conversation as well, but the question specifically was about, I mentioned eigenlayer 2 or 3 times in my presentation. Most people probably don't know what that is. But what eigenlayer has really brought to the world is this super exciting mechanism where all of the excess capacity that Ethereum miners have on their computers can be leveraged and used by all the rest of us who want to build basically systems on top of that. Right? And why that's important is that's why it's 80% cheaper. Someone mentioned, why is it cheaper? Or why is it effective? If I go and I want to build a huge computational process in AWS or GCP right now, I am basically reserving full boxes. I'm signing up 10 or 15, 20 boxes, and they're all sitting there, and a lot of them have massive downtime because I'm not always using them. That's the #1 problem with blockchain, is that all of these networks that you hear about, they're all bootstrapped by these coins that they sell. They don't actually run any of those networks at a profit because they couldn't possibly run thousands of those boxes and actually pay for them. It doesn't make any sense without selling a coin. But if you're using the spare capacity of Ethereum miners, you have effectively only have to pay for when you need those compute cycles. I don't have to put 1,000 boxes sitting there waiting for me just for me. I don't have to give them millions of dollars in order for them to wait to process my transactions. They're already doing what they're doing. All I do is send transactions to them to do what we were talking about before and run these applications for our clients when we need to. Our clients only pay for compute cycles when they need them, so they don't have to pay massive upfront fees through us, and that's how I'm taking advantage of that restaking network. More or less, I think that's what you were looking for. Maybe one more?
What do you have in the way of ZK options? Because I would imagine a lot of companies want to keep their data private within their company.
1,000%. The question was about ZK, what we're doing there. Any single piece of data that you want to read, any single data you want to write, we're fully EVM compatible. You can write and interact with any EVM chain. You can write it ZK Sync if you'd like. You can also read, if you have the proper key, you can read ZK Sync, you can read ZK data, and you can bring it into your internal systems using the key that you provide into the system if you'd like. And then lastly, we also offer fully private chain. So there's a great, if someone wants to take a look, Stability Protocol has a really interesting keyless system right now. So we're offering basically dedicated block space as a semi-private chain through our partnership with them as well. So you could, if you're a company using us and you don't want to use a public blockchain, you can absolutely have private space through the K3 system as well, again, through the Stability Protocol. I'm out of my 4 minutes.
We're out of time. We're out of time. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Okay. I was due to do a presentation. I'm going to skip it. I'm building something called Modelex. Just go to modelex.ai. There's a white paper there. What basically we do is we wrap a large language model in an oracle and allow sentiment analysis to be put on chain such that that sentiment analysis, which is a score, can be used for interest rate setting, for consumer confidence rating, things like that. So just take a look. We're a little bit behind on time, so I'm going to kind of skip my presentation and take a look at that. We'll be raising capital in the next few weeks. If you're interested in being involved, please see me afterwards. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the next presenter, who is Becky. Becky. Welcome, Becky. Oh, so you're Becky. Okay. Welcome, Becky. So you're the founder and CEO of Rabble? Yeah. The show's all yours.
How is everyone today? I think I'm the last person standing between you and wine. So I'm being very mindful of that, and I'm going to ask you to please, if you can, give me these 8 minutes. So my name is Becky. I'm the CEO of Rabble. That's not my document, so I'm just going to chat till it comes up. I'm a two-time venture-backed CMO, two-time venture-backed CPO. I've been working in the brand space for a very long time. If anybody's been following anything that's been happening in big tech, in 2021, Apple decided to stop sharing its data with Facebook. Me and my colleagues all experienced 80% reduction on our ROI when it came to our funnels. You can imagine we were all very scared for our jobs. But more importantly, we learned something about what it meant to have first-party data. At the same time, I had gone to South Africa to spend 2 years of my life. They were for life reasons, and I had an opportunity to experience firsthand a set of values around community that I think young people, particularly Gen Z and Gen Alpha, are really focused on. In 2017, I had the opportunity to, could I? No. In 2017, do you see it?
It's in your pocket, maybe.
I'd love it if it was. It is. Thank you. Maybe I hit the wine before. No, I'm just kidding. That's not mine either. Okay. I'm going the wrong direction. Oh boy. I'm just pushing buttons.
Maybe to go backwards.
Maybe. I'll go all the way around. I wish it's like a one-way button.
We gotta restart her time. It's not fair.
Thanks, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, hi everyone, my name is Becky. I'll save the jokes for afterwards. But what I was saying was in 2017, I had an opportunity to be put on a task force that Secretary Clinton put together, wondering what had happened to the election and why young people were no longer participating in the formal processes of democracy. And I got to interview 350 young people, surveyed 3,000. We found out a bunch of stuff. The first one is that the world is in rubbles, they're anxious, they're disconnected. They're seeking meaningful experiences, and most importantly, they are driving the purpose-driven economy, making decisions aligning value and values. So why does that matter? Yes, it's $300 trillion that Gen Z commands, but more importantly, the workforce today, as many of you are exhibiting, is going to be 50% Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Millennial in less than 5 years. And the most important thing is that 58% of them make decisions on employment. And then most importantly, $90 trillion of wealth will be going to millennials and Gen Z in the next 30 years. All of this matters when we start talking about how brands are operating when the expectations of societal leadership are not a core business function. So I'm gonna ask you a question. How many of you guys remember Rock the Vote? Your generation? Yes, okay. This is like a survey here. Okay, how about Global Citizens Project Festival? Yeah, okay, so generational. So think of Rabble and what we're doing as a decentralized global citizen project. The reason this is important is that we're essentially a rewards platform for young people and the brands they love to drive social change at scale. And brands need to do that not just because of customers, but because of their workforce. What are the components that really need to go into that? Is not only the marketplace of these events, but the who's using it. And from our perspective, something like blockchain allows us to empower a set of decentralized organizers, right? So people who organize Juneteenth events, people who organize Mid-Autumn Festival, people who organize things that are not of the mainstream and basically reward people for participating. What we essentially do is harness these organizers and essentially are able to offer brands a few things like sponsored differentiated experiences from vetted organizers, essentially unique ad units, and then most importantly, a premium data set and verification of connection and impact. So what does that really mean? That's right. At the end of the day, our position is that action is currency. And when we first came out into the market last year, we supported a test in Philadelphia where we supported food security as a cause on Juneteenth. We had a lot of great metrics in terms of supporting number of people fed. We went from feeding 1,000 people for free to 2,500. We also had the opportunity to engage over 100 brands in terms of volunteers, $40,000 worth of sponsorship and in-kind goods, and $50,000 in actual donations. So for an organization that had zero support, we were able to generate $100,000, almost $100,000 in support and put them on the map. Why is this important? I think societally, it's where we're moving, but more importantly, by giving these organizers some of these tools that help centralize their data, turn all their social capital into something that can be monetized, is an opportunity to give back to the organizations in an authentic way. So what you're seeing is a lot of retraction from the marketplace because of greenwashing, because of, I think, politicization of cause, and the opportunity for something like this is pretty large. I don't remember right now. So what's the tech? Okay, so essentially we're a platform aggregation of vetted cultural events, token-gated access. You've already seen it. People check in, we verify their location. We're a PWA app, and essentially the latest update of Apple iOS essentially allows us to geolocate, timestamp properly, and the way that we verify is actually the way young people create social change now, which is based on the images that they upload and videos that they upload to our platform. We use that essentially, we as the Oracle actually use that data to verify that that action already happened, and it's written on the chain. And so what we do is three-part. Identity abstraction. So because young people are logging in with wallets, we're able to protect their identities. That may not seem very relevant here in the US, but I assure you it's very relevant in other countries that are dealing with pretty intense problems right now. We basically also allow cultural and community organizers to develop a track record that allows them to speak directly to the philanthropic organizations and foundations that support them. That's a big problem right now in the industry. And then most importantly, we give brands the ability to claim their record of impact to eschew greenwashing. Social profiles to connect with Web3 members. You guys remember the popularity of Foursquare. It's kind of that thing too, but they're essentially animated NFTs that young people can collect. And I think oh, look at all this time that I got. Okay, so just to give you an overview of how it works, we have a vetted list of organizers and influencers. So we've dug very deep into the hip hop community, whether it's to support Juneteenth and a number of other different holidays. We use these cultural platforms to essentially give back to organizations that support. So for every cultural event, we support anywhere from 10 to 25 local nonprofit organizations that serve the community. What's been really amazing about the reward system is while we can drive in college students at a really amazing cost of $2.67, which if any of you guys are marketers, is amazing. What we have found in the actual execution is that it's actually beneficiaries of these programs that also participate in the rewards. And what's meaningful about that is that rather than people who are beneficiaries of these social programs feel like they're getting handouts, they're actually participating and standing shoulder to shoulder with people in terms of cause. That sense of belonging is actually critical to uniting this next generation as we continue to be polarized and politicized. So I think the thing that I want to emphasize the most, and I'm really open to all the technical questions because I know this is really a tech-minded community, is that, listen, all this tech, as we're trying to find really relevant use cases for it, really needs to be defined by the values of the community that adopts it. And that is essentially what we're focused on in this. So while all of this may seem like very heavy marketing, it's because we're trying to redefine value across the board for each of these communities. So you can imagine that once we've really established it within communities, then we can open up to other institutions that right now have not earned and gained the trust of the younger generation. And we are done with time, but most importantly, we actually did launch our beta last year. We launched again at Art Basel to recruit some of our cultural influencers, and then we're launching again before this next Juneteenth, which will have all the badging and rewarding. So, questions? None. No questions? Okay, thank you. We can chat afterwards. All right, thank you very much, everyone.
Okay, so let's see, where are we? We are at our community ask offer. So first of all, a big round of applause for Stuart and all the demoers. Before we conclude, we have a segment called Community Ask Offer, and it's where we invite any of you up here to make an ask of the community or something you have to offer. I'd like to first invite Jerry up, and I know, Jerry, you've got one yourself, so come on up and ask away.
Hey, everyone. Really exciting to see so many people here interested in blockchain and Web3. Thank you all for coming. I've been an advisor to the New York Tech Alliance for about 10 years, focusing in the areas of machine learning, data science, AI, and of course, blockchain. It's been my great pleasure working with Doug to help put today's event together. Exciting to have companies like Lendvest, nCent, BlockBox.
BlockBar.
I didn't bring them on. I brought in a lot of my friend Stuart and all the other companies, Rabble as well. Sorry for the ones like K3 Labs. Anyway, all these great companies. My involvement in the New York tech community started when I was 22 years old, which is longer ago than I want to say. My first start was when I was 22. I've since started up 9 companies and counting over the years as a co-founder. And back when I started, it was really hard because there was no community. And so you guys really should support and appreciate things like the New York Tech Alliance, Civic Hall, and yourselves, because that community makes it so much easier than when I started. My journey in the blockchain space started in the 2017 when I was founding CTO at SWAT, which was a crypto exchange and a data analytics platform. And what excited me at the time was the promise of smart contracts, in particular smart contracts integrating external data. The idea of digitizing, tokenizing of real-world assets, the promise of a changing regulatory landscape, and the promise of one day having central bank digital currency. And I was really excited about that in 2017, and it was expected that in 2 or 3 years it would be a reality. And that was 7 years ago. And you know what excites me today? The promise of smart contracts integrated with real-world data. The promise of tokenized real-world assets, et cetera, et cetera. But the difference is today it's real. And we're at a cusp of the next generation of decentralized finance and other applications of blockchain that are really going to change the world. And what you really need to make that happen, and I want to focus, Web3 is about trust. I want to really drill that in. If you didn't get this, it's about trust. Because we don't have a way to do trust. You know, maybe I misunderstood, but one of the things Rabble said was, oh, you now can have geolocation and timestamping at events where people take video, right? Why do we need trust? Well, you know, how many people saw the world's largest audience for an American, after an American election in 2016? Anybody know what I'm talking about? Yeah? How do you know? Some people said it was the world's largest. Some people didn't. But what if there were timestamped, digitally geolocated videos of that event? Now you can do trust. And where should that live? That should be put on the blockchain. Timestamps. Stuart, timestamp. It really happened then. It really happened there. You get it? Trust. So what we need to do these next generation of decentralized finance and blockchain applications is trusted data oracle networks, trusted ways to get information from the outside world into these blockchains. All right? We need trusted compute. Where'd he go? Anyway, trusted compute, such as what K3 is talking about doing. All right? We need trusted data feeds going into these decentralized applications. We need cross-chain interoperability so that things can travel from Ethereum to Bitcoin, et cetera, in a way that's trusted and fluid. Now, there are companies like Chainlink that have built an amazing technology that's a fabric that makes this a lot easier. And that's really the backbone of what's going to be allow us to go into the future and build these digitized applications, these decentralized applications. So anyway, I'm not selling anything, but if you have an interesting business problem that you think could take advantage of blockchain, smart contracts, data oracle networks, and AI, or you have some compelling data that you think would help other people by having it be available to some of these smart contracts, come find me afterwards. I'd love to talk with you. And again, Doug, thank you for putting on such a great event, and good luck with everything.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it. Anybody else have anything they want to ask? Or okay, in the sake of time, we'll move forward. All right, so our next meetup is going to be on Monday, May 13, when we'll be featuring companies in the assistive technology space. So we'll be sending out announcements about that and opening up registration soon. I'm sorry, you have? Why do we, to the room? Yeah. Oh, 5 seconds. Sure, come on up.
Hi, greetings from Philadelphia. Just real quick, my name's Chino. I'm looking for a technical co-founder for an app I'm developing. So if you're interested, please see me. Thank you.
That's it. Good job. Okay, and with that, thank you, everybody. Thanks for your patience. I know we ran over time tonight, but thank you for coming. We look forward to seeing you at the next one. Go forth, eat, drink, and be merry. Thanks. See you at the next one.